Food bloggers, hi, how are you today? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Eat Blog Talk podcast. This is the place for food bloggers to get information and inspiration to accelerate your blog's growth and ultimately help you to achieve your freedom, whether that's financial, personal, or professional. I'm Megan Porta. I have been a food blogger for 13 years, so I understand how isolating food blogging can be. I'm on a mission to motivate, inspire, and most importantly, let each and every food blogger, including you, know that you are heard and supported. When you think back on your entire blogging journey, is there a point you can think of when it just became a business for you? I've noticed that a lot of food bloggers have a very specific point in time that they can say, yes, this was the time when my blog became an actual business. Nadia Tariq from Bake Fresh joins me in this interview, and we talk about this very topic. She began her blog a really long time ago, back in 2009. It was kind of an up and down hobby while she worked on some other things. Around when the pandemic hit, she decided to really focus in on it as a business. So she talks through a few different things that she did in order to make this her focus. She chats about resources and learning that really helped her along the way. She talks about time management and organization, and most importantly, I think, self-discipline and how she kept herself on track so that she could keep accomplishing her goals. I was super inspired by this interview. Nadia and I operate in much the same way when it comes to discipline and habits and staying on track. I hope you are just as inspired by it. It is a great episode. It is number 518, sponsored by RankIQ. Are you tired of falling through the cracks as a seasoned food blogger? It's just assumed that once a food blogger gets to a certain number of years or a certain level of traffic, that they don't need resources or direction any longer. We're good, right? No, we're not good. This couldn't be further from the truth. Seasoned food bloggers need guidance and relevant information too. There are ways to find the guidance and support we need, such as high-quality mastermind groups and retreats, but if those options don't align with your budget or your schedule, then you're kind of out of luck. We are relegated to sorting through all the information in Facebook groups when we don't know how trustworthy the sources of information even are. All of this is exactly why my friend Melissa, the blogger behind Mama Gourmand, and I have decided to put together a workshop-style summit geared specifically toward advanced food bloggers. We are gathering no more than 50 people in Denver, Colorado in May 2024 to give monetized food bloggers the love and support they need and deserve. Go to flavormediasummit.net to get all the information you need about speakers, dates, our vision for the event, and to fill out an application. This experience is going to be highly valuable and one of a kind. We cannot wait to see some of you there. Many of the spots have already been taken for this event, so if this is intriguing to you, fill out an application today. Go to flavormediasummit.net, follow the link to tickets and application, and apply today. Nadia is a computer science graduate and ex-project manager turned into a pastry chef. She holds a diploma from City and Guilds, various short courses on bread and chocolate making, and cake decoration. Nadia has been creating customized themed cakes for over a decade as a home business, creating beautiful cakes for friends and family. Nadia is based in Riyadh and originally is from Pakistan. She started blogging in 2009 as a means for sharing her recipes. She has only recently gotten serious about it, and shockingly, the entire blogging game has changed. Nadia is now working on her blog strategically in the quest to share her family recipes, Pakistani bakery, and street foods to get recognized on the face of the culinary world. She is also working as a food photographer, which was her long-lost passion to generate some extra cash, which was not possible earlier due to raising a young family. She conducts online and in-person baking classes for enthusiasts. She is currently working on streamlining her business and working with a VA along with some serious SEO work. Well, hello, Nadia. Thank you for joining me on Eat Blog Talk. How are you today?
Hey, Megan. I'm very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me over here.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's so great to talk to you, and I love this topic. Every time we talk about it, guests have such different perspectives on this. So blogging for business and getting to that point where you approach your food blog as an actual business. I love it. But before we get into that, do you want to share a fun fact with us?
Yeah, sure. So there are two actually I would like to share.
Yeah.
Although I'm basically a dessert and baking blogger, but I can cook the Pakistani food really well. But I find it really elaborate and cumbersome to share with all the ingredients because there's so many ingredients involved in just one curry or one pot meal. But I can cook really well because my family is hardcore traditional food eater. So, but I have not really blogged about it, Rich, but I'm still, maybe somewhere in the future.
A niche blog, a second blog.
Yes, a niche blog for sure,
There you go.
And also, I'm a very, very meticulous planner. And I sometimes laugh when I'm writing, actually, that I even write down which laundry will go which day. So, for example, for my, So I sometimes laugh at myself that if somebody sees me writing down the laundry days as well, specifically for every person in the house. So yeah, but I really like that way. Keeps me a little sane,
awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. Do you ever get thrown off? Like you miss a day and then you have to like scratch it all and restart and plan again?
Megan, from my experience, the planning part, I think we should take it with a bit of flexibility. And that is the key to success. So if there are for example, if my daughter needs something tomorrow for her college, so maybe we can do a flexibility sort of thing. Okay, you do it today and I'll do it, exchange and sort of. But initially, I have some plans so that I don't have to decide then and there. I don't want to think about it a lot. And I want to get it done and dusted right away, right from the start of the day. So that's what I think, when it gets, linger on, then it's on your head all the time. So that's the idea about it. Yeah.
So when last night I had this, it was 9:00 and I have a semi plan about laundry, but probably not like you. 9:00, both of my boys were like, Mom, I need this uniform washed and in my closet by tomorrow morning. I was like, are you kidding me? And then my other son was like, I have 6 sweatshirts that need to be washed and I'd like to have them ready in the morning. I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. You're giving me a 1-hour turnaround. It's not cool. So how do you deal with that? Do you just say, nope, sorry, or do you fit it in?
Depending upon the situation. For example, if my daughter is in med school, so if she needs scrubs right away, like it's very important. I know that. Yeah. So that will be on a priority list. Right. And I'll do it, but I'll warn it for the next time. You should be doing it on your own. But if it's not the case, then I will just let it go and wait for them to take responsibility,
Okay. I need you in my house, Nadia. Come over, please. You can tell my kids that. I love it. I love knowing that about you too. And this kind of fits in with the topic. Just planning is essential for food blogging as a business, right? So important. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your blog if you want to give us just a brief history of it.
Sure. So basically, I worked as a project manager before I was a trailing spouse with my husband who moved to Middle East, Saudi for his job. And it was my first year of marriage as well. I had a little baby and I found a couple of jobs in my field, like in computer sciences. But then I realized that leaving her with the daycare, and at that time, the daycare was not a very good option. There were not a lot of facilities over here. So I said, okay, let's try to do something at home. And that the baking passion, which was there since my childhood, because my aunt and my mother used to bake a lot. And they used to do decorated cakes in 1980s, for example, like when I was growing up. Yeah. So I had seen the train cake in decorated form and, the heart shape and the duck shape and all sort of things. So I said, let's, just try to start something related to baking and cake decoration. And thankfully, it just took off really well. And I ran business from home for about 12 to 13 years. I started in 2010. So meanwhile, while I was doing my cakes as well, I was just sharing my recipes, just, casually how the Blogspot days were. I was just sharing all the recipes. Whoever asked for something, I just used to post it with a lot of daily life routine as well. But then after 2000, for example, I think it was pandemic when it started that, I'll get back to the blog. And everything had changed. Like it had completely flipped. There was no more Blogspot, and then there was the WordPress and everything. They had courses, the photography, the format, everything had changed. So I said, now if I want to get back to it, I should be taking it more seriously. So that's when I started to look into it, read about it, Top Hat Rank and your blog. your podcast, the Food Blogger Pro, took a membership of a couple of courses and forums. And right now I'm at it now.
Yeah, I love your perspective. And that's really interesting because as someone who was kind of in it, before the pandemic, during and after, I didn't see that big of a change, but I can see where you're coming from, where if you took a little break and then you came back with a new perspective and you were like, oh, this is really different. I need to really hone in on my skills and my learning, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wrote my first blog post, I think, in 2009. So that was way back. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So how much content do you have if you started that long ago?
Unfortunately, during this time, I was posting on and off, but not very regularly. And this was because of the reason that I was running that home business, customized cakes, theme cakes, and it was very time taking. I was learning it as well, doing courses here and there. And then I was raising a young family. So my kids were really small. So I had no time to blog consistently. But it was always, and it is still a very passion project of mine. I would not say that from the monetary perspective. But yes, of course, now the investment is bigger than before. Everything you have to pay for good host, for the courses, for everything. So now I've started to take it more seriously from the monetary point of view, but it still remains a passion project. I want to document all my recipes, my family recipes, especially coming from the family who has been baking for a long time, and we used to enjoy it as a child. So I want to document everything from that perspective, and also to put a good name of my own country from where I am, Pakistan. I want to be able to represent it and share all the recipes that are traditional and that are cultural to our heritage and our country. So that is one of my targets and goals for this blog.
I love that it remains a passion project for you. That's something that a lot of people lose, I feel like, after time. But how cool that this is still something that you're really passionate about. I think that's a huge blessing. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you decided, okay, this is the time, I have to see this blog as a business, you mentioned that you had some learning that you dug into, some resources. What else did you shift to view it as a business at that point?
All right. So I took a membership of Food Blogger Pro initially. I got the hang of it, how the pinch of yum shares everything, we all know. So I started to get the hang of it, and then I started to listen to all the podcasts very religiously. Funny enough that when I was working as a project manager, I had done keyword research. I was doing copywriting as well. So back in the days, like in 2008 and 7, there was the start of the keyword search and search engine optimization and everything. So I had an idea, but for the food blog specifically, I thought that I have to master the food photography part, because that is one of the major components of food blogging, I would say. And if you can do it yourself, that's one of the biggest advantage. And in terms of time management, in terms of workflow, it can help a lot. And I already had the DSLR. Then I upgraded it to mirrorless. I took a course online. It was a masterclass sort of thing. I learned everything, photography. I tried to learn SEO. And recently I have taken the course by Cooking with Keywords by Elika. So it is also one of the game changers. So I have done it once. Now I'm revising it again so that I can, create my own content calendar, which is keyword optimized and is search engine friendly. So these are the two things I would say that everybody who is listening might want to start with.
Yeah, everything you mentioned is either something I myself have taken, or I've heard others take it and they're very pleased with it. Cooking with Keywords, I didn't take that course, but I've heard so many people say that it was a game changer. Food photography, learning about SEO and keyword research, listening to all the podcasts. There's so much free resources available, right? That will really help move you forward. Super smart of you to just know that you needed to dig into that. Is there anything else learning-wise or resource-wise that you wanted to mention?
I think that's it for the pillars of food blogging, or you want to build it, right?
Yeah. And so beyond resources and learning, what other things did you do differently once you saw it as a business?
I think listening to people is very important, what people are actually asking for. For example, I made some YouTube videos as well. I think I have 100-ish videos on my YouTube channel as well. And one of the most popular video is how to host a stress-free party or a brunch. So that is one of the best. Still, it does really well. Although there are all recipes, but this one particularly because I'm sharing top 10 tips on how to host a stress-free party because I'm myself is a big fan of hosting and hosting in a stress-free manner, not to drain myself out and everything.
Yeah.
So that is one of the So I listen very keenly how people want to get the information. They want more time management. For example, at our religious month, the Ramadan, it's very heavy in terms of work you need to put in. So if the kitchen part is sorted out, so it can give you a lot of time. So that I did. It was a free downloadable guide sort of thing. And then there was kids lunchbox ideas with 10 recipes, which I usually make for my kids as well. So these are the things that I try to incorporate as a free download. And then I can build my email list as well while doing so.
That is so smart and something that we don't listen to a lot of the time. We're like, oh, that video is doing really well. Great. And then we just keep doing our own thing, speaking for myself here. So I love that you listen and you just acknowledge that this is what they're coming for and then continuing to deliver that. Now, if you notice on YouTube, for example, that a certain video is doing well, like you mentioned, do you kind of apply that all around and start delivering that on every platform?
Yes, I try actually, but Instagram sadly is not one of my favorites. I'm not a kind of person who is present on stories and can post with a lot of enthusiasm every day. But making a content calendar and planning out your social media calendar as well, that is something which I am really working on. And I should maybe one fine day I should sit down once a week, plan all the content for the social media. Because you can reuse a lot of content. You can take some clips from the YouTube videos. You can post them as shorts, as Instagram reels, as from the newsletter. You can take some tips, post it as carousel. So there are a lot of things that you can do without burning yourself out. But that needs a little bit of more planning and more strategy, to be honest. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. The content calendar and the social media calendar should be in place, I feel, for every quarter.
I so appreciate that. Hello, food bloggers. Are you looking to spice up your social media account with unique and exciting content? If you want that secret edge that makes you stand out in your niche, I might have the answer for you. Katarina can help you streamline your podcasting and social media content with audio editing, video editing, or social media strategies. She specializes in working with food bloggers, tailoring her content creation packages to their needs. Whether you want to create something new, like a gripping podcast, or if you want to refresh your social media strategies by creating scroll-stopping video content for platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, she has got you covered. If this sounds intriguing, get in touch with Katarina. Go to eatblogtalk.com/resources to get more information about Katarina's services. Again, go to eatblogtalk.com/resources and click on her link. Now let's get back to the episode. It can seem intimidating, I think, for some people. Do you have encouragement or recommendations for how not to make it super intimidating?
I think a lot of times, Megan, if you see my Instagram page as well, some of the very raw footage, very bad voiceover and not very well defined and everything, it does really well. I think that's the kind of thing we should, focus on, that just put it out there. It should be helpful. It should not be like adding noise to the already existing stuff. It should be somewhat helpful to at least a couple of people from your target audience. If that's how you do it, I think you can make an impact. You can at least, create a database of your own good stuff. So we don't need to be very refined, I feel, at least on the social media, the fast-moving social media apps.
I love what you said about don't add noise. So just using that approach with everything you create, just adding value and just kind of what you saw that people were showing up for a certain type of thing and then adding value through those things that have kind of social proof, right?
Yeah. And I think I heard someone saying that, you cannot change the world all at once. Just target at one person. If you can change his or her life with your ideas, with your content, then that's enough. So, yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. And then you kind of touched on this, but there is a trend, I think, where you don't have to show up perfect anymore. It used to be more polished and perfect, and now it's okay to show up real and to maybe include your messes or include a backstory about how you created this recipe and how messy it was or whatever. Like, I think that is accepted more and more. Do you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. Like once I shared a story on what happens to my kitchen after I'm done making and decorating a cake, and the sink is full of buttercream sort of dishes and everything is messed up. But it was so well received. People actually DM me with a lot of questions that how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you minimize this? How do you time manage and deliver on time? And, a lot of these things. So these are the questions I think we should pay attention to and try to answer it through our content. That's what I feel will work.
I love that. So there's a lot going on in the food blogging business, as you know, and everyone knows listening. How do you manage your time?
Basically, what I do is for 2 days, I work completely on my blog post. So if I have to write something, if I have to do all kind of work that can be done on the laptop, right? So the desk part, writing email, editing pictures, all that sort of thing. And then 2 days, I will try out the recipes, make them. Usually the recipes have been tried out a couple of times before that. So I will make the recipe, I will shoot it, I'll try to take a short clip video if it's required, and then I'll try to edit and everything. So 2 days, I try to batch process how much I can. And then the 5th day, it's for all social media things. So I will schedule it for Instagram, for Facebook, my Facebook groups. I will finalize a newsletter, send it out. So that's how I try to manage. And I'm breaking it down into, because I had a brief call with Arsen from Top Hat Rank, and he suggested that you should split your content buckets into 50-50 for the new post and 50% for the old post, because my blog is like really old. So some of the old post needs good overhaul. So that's how I try to do that. 50%, at least one blog post per week, a new one blog post that should be updated. And then there is one non-recipe blog post. So 3 blog posts I try to target every week. Okay. So that's how Yeah,
I like how you break that down. I think that's a smart breakdown. And the way you break down your days is so cool too. I always say that batching like you do holds so much power because you get into that flow. Like if you're sitting at your computer, it just works. You can go all day. And for me anyway, like I just flow with it. But if I were to sit down for an hour and then get up and make a recipe and photograph, like it just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah. But then there are some days when there is a photography assignment. For example, I do a part-time restaurant shoot, or some bloggers, if there is a recipe photo shoot or development. So I will, keep a slight buffer in which I can do a very quick, easy recipe for the blog and then dedicate the other day, the second part of the week, to the assignment. Or if there is a cake order for the decorated cake orders, then I can do that. If I conduct classes also at my home, sometimes it's an online, sometimes it's in person. So that I have to plan for a couple of hours a week. So I try to manage all the things. I know it's too much, and it's very funny that I think this is one of my weaknesses, that I cannot hyper focus on one thing, like not only food photography, no, not only blog, no. I have to juggle a lot of things. And I think it's coming from an ex-project manager. I really can't do much about it.
Oh, I'm in the same boat. I've always been that way too. Like, why can't I just do one thing and be okay with that? But I feel like I have to have everything going on at once.
Yeah, and it sucks a lot of energy. Like you have to really pay attention to your physical, mental, and emotional well-being in order to carry on all this.
It is so true. I always say this. I feel like I expend more energy than a lot of people because of that, because I'm not only focused on different projects and avenues, but also that I'm so passionate about each one that I'm thinking about them all the time, even at 3 a.m. Yes. So much energy.
Yes. And some of the ideas, they are there when you don't have any phone, any pencil, paper, anything.
I know, because I refuse to get up at 3 a.m. and write down ideas. I'm like, no, I should be sleeping. But then that's where some of the good ideas come from. So maybe I should.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying takes quite a bit of discipline, I think, because one of the main pain points I hear in our space is productivity. How do I stay on task? How do I stay disciplined enough to actually follow through with all of this stuff? So do you have any tips on that?
Yes. And that came from someone I heard saying that you cannot rely on motivation. Motivation comes and go, and you cannot wait for the motivation to come and then start working. You have to rely. I think it's from Atomic Habits, one of the best books.
Yeah.
We have amazing tips. Yep. So I think James Clear mentioned that you can't rely on motivation. You have to put in discipline. You have to work whether you like it or not when you have made a plan. So like they say that dreams without, goals without any plan are just dreams.
Yeah.
So I think that's so true that you can dream a lot of things, but to implement it, to put it into action, then you can only reach those goals. So I've recently started habit stacking. That's also from James Clear.
Yeah.
And I've just, for example, I'm going to pick up my younger one from the school. So it is a 7-minute drive. So I try to do face yoga meanwhile. So I hope nobody's watching me.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I just learned face yoga. That's so funny.
Yes. So I try to do that. Yeah. And then if I'm doing some other chore, then I will try to listen to a spiritual podcast, for example.
Okay.
And then at night, I would like to read at least 5 pages, no matter what, if I like the book or I don't like the book, but I will read 5 pages. So I think if you put on this habit tracker sort of thing, there are so many printables available. You can download or you can use your phone to track it. And at the end of the day, it's very nice to tick all the boxes. So I think this is one of the things you can do to stay focused, because it's so easy to waste time, especially with these gadgets and, distraction. Yeah.
Nadia, I feel like you and I operate very similarly. This is so funny hearing you talk, because I too love Atomic Habits. I know I talk about that a lot, but I do habit stacking all the time. I just added face yoga to my habit stacking. That's so funny that you said that. I discovered it on vacation a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. I'm going to try this. So I've been doing that, and then started habit stacking that in the mornings with a little bit of creative time. And like you said, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Like some mornings I literally sit down for 2 minutes and draw. That's it. And that fulfills my creative needs. Some days it's 30 minutes or 60 minutes, but just as long as you are doing something, and then once you've got it, you can stack on top of it all kinds of things and not have it take up your whole day.
Yes. Definitely. Like there is one amazing podcast, Rangan Chatterjee, and he says that he always does, when his coffee is brewing, there are 5 minutes. So he does the strength training. He says that everybody laughs at, for 5 minutes, what do you do in strength training? But he says that it's add up to 35 minutes at the end of the week. And that's something. At least I'm trying, and making it easier by keeping my kettlebells and dumbbells next to my coffee station. So, these are all little things which we should be doing it. And it's, for myself, I tell myself that I should be disciplined. I should be consistent to demonstrate to my kids, because they are growing up in an age which is full of expectations, unrealistic things. There's so much fake, and, there's so much fakeness going on. So I think we at home can do something which is a very good example for them as well.
Yeah, and those little bits really do matter, and they add up, not just with time, but like you said, with your kids and people who are watching you. It might not seem like they're watching or noticing, but they totally are. So these little habits really make a difference on them too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Any other advice for people just wanting to see their blog as more of a business?
Yeah. So first you decide that if you want to take it full-time or if you want to take it part-time. I assume that mostly people would start part-time until it's monetized in some way or the other, by working with other bloggers for their recipe development, for their food photography, or by ad network or anything. But what you should do is being consistent is the key. I'm also practicing. I have recently started, like from 2023 summers, I actually sat down and I said that I will give it a couple of years. I will see how it goes. And then I will shift in my direction or anything. So it's a long game. We have heard it so many times, but when it comes to us, it's very difficult to apply to ourselves. but it is for sure a long game. And you see results like when I post consistently with good formats. And niching down is also one of the very important things. Like I'm very passionate about baking. I really like to bake primarily, but I'm recently focusing on Pakistani desserts, Pakistani snacks, street food, bakery items. There's so many things. And because this is not a very saturated niche, it's a niche within a niche, basically. So I feel that I'm getting more traction in that. And some of my top 10 posts are the Pakistani desserts. And though they are not very well written and they are a little bit old, but still they're doing well because I think maybe my blog appear in first 2 pages of Google. So I think niching down, consistency, and a long game. I think these are 3 tips for anybody who's starting out.
Such great advice. If you can stick with those, you are setting yourself up for success big time. I totally agree with that. And I think that a lot of bloggers are hoping to see their blogs more of a business now. Things are getting more serious and feeling more serious in our space, right? So I think this is a really relevant and important topic. So thank you. Is there anything we've missed before we start saying goodbye, Nadia?
I think we're good. It's something that I just wanted to share, that don't be afraid to change your path. Like I have been doing customized theme cakes for like 12, 13 years, but now I feel that it's not that I know everything, but it's just that I'm not having the same spark that I used to have for the customized cakes. It's just a ceiling. I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I have done it all. Sure, there are so many things that I can do, but I want to explore other avenues. So don't be afraid to change course. This is I think this will be my third venture after being a project manager and then a cake decorator and now a full-time food blogger and teacher, for example. So don't be afraid to change the course. Nothing is set in stone. So if you feel like doing something, maybe you can take a calculated risk and try for some time. Seek out help. There's so many amazing people out there. I remember I even emailed you once that I should continue doing it or not, and you replied so sweetly. And I think I mailed a couple of other people as well in the same industry, and everybody replied. So reach out to people, talk to them. Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, and I do love it when people reach out. I love that because I think if the passion's there, definitely keep doing it. But I'm aligned with you, Nadia, where you don't have to have everything written in stone. It doesn't, just because you're a food blogger now doesn't mean you need to keep being a food blogger for the rest of your life.
Yep.
That can change course. It can look different. You can be a cookbook author. I mean, there's so many other things that can turn into. So just being open, I think, is your message. I love it.
And which reminds me that you should explore the digital product course as well. Like there's so many things that you can give as a freebie, as free downloads, and then maybe some more high-end and valuable products, digital products, or maybe have your own merchandise. There's so many options to explore. And I think they are worth exploring. Whatever your heart says, you should go in that direction, because ultimately the contentment and the thing that comes with the passion will really go a long way.
Oh, I so agree. Love this message. And I think we should hang out sometime and do our face yoga together.
Yes. And I'll share a couple of resources with you.
Oh, perfect.
Amazing resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. Do you have a favorite quote, Nadia, to end on, or words of inspiration in addition to everything you've shared?
I'm really a big fan of reading good quotes and word of inspiration, and that sometimes can make your day from nothing to everything, and you end up being a great sport that day. So there is one quote which is from Allama Muhammad Iqbal, and he's a very famous poet from Pakistan. And he says that failure is not fatal until we surrender. Trying again is the key of glorious victory.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that you are a quote person too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, what a great way to end. We'll put together a show notes page for you, Nadia. If you want to go peek at those, you can head to eatblogtalk.com/bakefresh. Tell everyone where they can find you, Nadia.
Yes. So basically my website and my blog is bakefresh.net, and bakefresh_cakes is my Instagram. Nadia Tariq Bakefresh is YouTube. So basically Bakefresh, if you Google it with some recipe name, you will be able to find me. And there is a free download section on my website, and you can download some cool guides for yourself. And yeah.
Awesome. Everyone go check out Nadia's content. Thanks again so much for being here. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eat Blog Talk. Please share this episode with a friend who would benefit from tuning in. I will see you next time.